Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of the Kino Cinema Club podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Bosco, joined exclusively by Dean Chapman. Today, we're going to be talking about the Rehearsal Season 2. We are a couple members short of the club, and this is not cinema, but is it Kino? Absolutely. Everything Nathan Fielder has done thus far, every major project he's been a part of, has been pure Kino in my mind.
And I would concur with that.
My introduction to Nathan Fielder, I was not a Comedy Central watcher regularly, and I had no idea what this show was until one day in high school you showed me it. I've been a big fan ever since.
Oh, you're talking about Nathan for You?
Yes, not this show, my bad.
Oh, that's all good.
So before we talk about this season, I think it's a little important to go into the lore of Nathan for You and the character arc that he has built, whether it's real or fictional, or the lore of Nathan Fielder. He first big show was Nathan for You, ran on Comedy Central. I believe it started in 2012, ran through 2015. The plot of that show, effectively, for those who don't know, he would go to struggling businesses and have ideas that were somewhere between retarded and brilliant, and would attempt to help them gain more traction.
Yeah, the poo flavored yogurt one of my favorite concepts. Very funny.
For sure. I think that the dumb Starbucks was the first.
Oh yeah,
that
was big.
Like, really, I mean,
that was on the news. Starbucks was not happy.
Was the first one to break through in a real way, and probably led him to getting a good deal more publicity than he would have otherwise.
Oh, absolutely.
I think No Smokers, the episode where he helped a struggling bar trying to cope with the anti-smoking laws. He just sold tickets to a couple of random old ladies and told them that it was a performance, and they actually liked it. I think that episode kind of set the groundwork because he ultimately thought that the patrons of the bar made something that would actually appeal to a larger audience, so he would have actors pretend to be the people that were just regular bar patrons and tried to turn it into a real production.
Oh, yeah. That were, not really a production per se, but it was like, I guess the magician trick where you had to get it out of the claw in front of a live audience of children.
Yeah, that was wild.
Daring.
I think that the final episode of Nathan for You, the Finding Francis almost documentary, it was like an hour. It was like an hour and a half, wasn't it?
I honestly don't remember, unfortunately.
Where he tried to track down the former lover of a recurring actor on Nathan for You that had was a Bill Gates impersonator.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He was a good guy.
Tried to find. Yeah. He.
This won't be the
Trump's
last
election.
time that he dives into more romantic stuff. He does it in Rehearsal Season 2.
Certainly. But just his whole that's what really, in my mind, I mean, throughout Nathan for You, he kind of had a whole running thing where it showed that he struggled to make connections with people, and he really had a sense of loneliness to him. You're thinking about that one guy, he was a private investigator, called him the Wizard of Loneliness.
Yep.
Just multiple times throughout the Nathan for You series, he demonstrated that he was unable to make connections with people. And in the Finding Francis episode, series finale, he had hired an escort and was not doing sexual things per se, but just pursuing somewhat of a typical romantic endeavor with her. I believe he even ended up entering into a real relationship with this woman. I think I heard that somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure. At the end of the documentary or finale, he finally gets this gentleman back in touch with his former lover, Francis. They're waiting in her driveway. He calls her up and gives his pitch and tries to get her to rekindle their relationship, but after talking to her and seeing that she has lived a fulfilled life and has a family and all of family, grandchildren, just everything she would have wanted, and he did not. He ends up making the decision not to actually approach her, and Nathan has something of an epiphany that while he is making a show that is for entertainment, and he is he also is kind of affecting people's lives in a real and tangible way that he doesn't really consider in the series. Of course, after that, it was a good few years before he did any other project. That would be the Rehearsal Season 1, which I believe the show was meant to originally be a lot more in the style of Nathan For You and have multiple little rehearsals where people would make their confessions or have conversations and prepare for it.
Yeah, episode 1, the whole basically the breakdown of the concept of the show, it's just, I don't know, it's absolutely wild. I couldn't think of it. I never thought of it, and I just, I don't think anyone else has ever thought of the idea either.
I mean, I'm sure some people might have had some kinds of thoughts of things of the sorts. I mean, every old movie and sitcom has had a rehearsal for a conversation of sorts.
Yeah.
In that Blackberry movie, they did their own rehearsal of sorts before they called the bald guy.
Bald guy.
So yeah, the idea of having a rehearsal for confessions and conversations and to such a degree, I can't imagine anybody would have really put that much
it's the attention to detail that got me, I guess. I don't know.
Certainly, I mean, with the first episode, he
building a whole cane.
Yeah, that was later on in it, but the Lizard Lounge, or Alligator Lounge, I believe it was originally called, but so he could keep the set, he had to change it to the Lizard Lounge, but had an exact replica, even down to the little bits of vandalism and the way that portraits on the walls were tilted. I do, as the series went on, you start to notice people in the background are wearing masks and stuff, so clearly the filming was during COVID. I don't know if the content of how much the content of the series would have actually been affected by COVID, but I would certainly think that, in my mind, the show was originally not supposed to have the overarching theme of the woman trying to raise her family. I think it was meant to just take more of a Nathan For You style form where you go from person to person, but overall, I think the content that we did get in season 1 was very entertaining. Having him rehearse a relationship with a woman that wanted to be a trad wife. Ultimately, in that series, or at the end of that season, he had started making real connections with one child actor in particular, and the child actor had an absent father. So the child had really started to view Nathan as his actual father during the filming of the rehearsal.
Sad.
It was very sad. I think that with everything Nathan For You or Nathan Fielder or Rehearsal, like it feels like it could be fake. It could be or fake as in scripted.
Yeah.
I mean, but when it comes to that, it's like there's only really so much you could script to have a child act that convincingly. I mean, so that surely says something to the genuineness of this projects that he has been attached to. I will say that the mother of that child had pissed me off a good deal when I watched the
I watched
final
season 1
episodes.
a while ago.
Yeah,
are you talking about the fake mother?
No, the real mother of that little boy, just because she was sitting there like just talking about like, yeah, I thought about how this might affect him, but I figured he'd be alright. Like, no. The child's missing his father, and she said at one point something along the lines of, it's just, it's nobody's fault. I'm like, no, it is your fault, man. I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, no. It is quite unfortunate. You know, he wasn't asked to be put in this position per se. He is, after all, just a child.
Certainly. After the Rehearsal season 1, his next project was a Safdie Brothers show called The Curse, which you have not seen more than the first episode of. I watched the series twice. I am a big fan and would highly recommend it. I mean, I don't know much about the Safdie brothers, but as I have been... I don't even know if I've got their name right, honestly. But I've heard people say that their thing was kind of making a very grounded and reality version of fiction. Nathan Fielder kind of has the opposite thing, where he has a highly fictionalized version of what reality is. So the series as a whole just has it is, I think Nathan Fielder through Nathan For You and even the Rehearsal season 1 kind of serves to be a parody of reality TV, but also while maintaining being reality TV in and of itself. So to see in The Curse him take on a parody of reality TV through acting and fictional stories, it is just an incredible experience, and the last episode will either be loved by everybody that watches it, but it is very much a solid ending to the series that they had set up. That leads us into the Rehearsal season 2, so Nathan decides to take on the topic of aviation safety this season.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. Episode 1. Episode 1 had me cracking up with like the shots and everything.
For sure. I mean,
the
after
camera work. Oh my gosh.
About 10 minutes into the episode, he says something along the lines of, we're 10 minutes in and we don't have any laughs. Meanwhile, I had many laughs myself. Whether that speaks to my character, what, I don't know, but from the moment he talked about taking on the topic of aviation safety to begin with, I was just laughing uncontrollably, basically through the whole opening monologue he gives. But he hypothesizes that aviation crash prevention puts far too much emphasis on the technical side of things, on what went wrong when trying to prevent further accidents, and ignores and neglects the human connection element. Which, you know, you hear a lot of reasons hypothesized by a lot of people, whether it's DEI programs or whatnot. That certainly is an original take, something I hadn't really considered myself, because of course I don't know anything about what causes plane crashes or what studies they do into
their shows
further print.
And all they do is they just talk about plane crashes. I feel like there's like a deep subset of people that just like really just they don't enjoy it, but they watch it, they indulge.
Sure there are. I mean, I just never something I've really went into myself. Nathan Fielder has been a big fan of these. Runs through transcripts of real crash incidents, finds some examples that he feels like could have been avoided with the first officers and the pilots on their side of things, ignoring what technically may have gone wrong. Immediately in this episode, we are seeing a very different side of Nathan as he ponders how somebody of his caliber, with his track record, can really make a difference in something so serious. Off the gate, he talks with a young first officer. Just gets to know him. The guy's name was Moody, I believe. I tended to like that guy. Seemed like a decent fellow.
Yeah.
But
Nice
after
young
overhearing after overhearing a conversation between Moody and his girlfriend, he sees that there are some insecurities surrounding the relationship from afar.
He was eating
kind
that
of
shit up.
For sure.
He was, they were filming. He was like, I think he was on camera on some of the shots, and he was like, man, he was grinning. He'd come in and like ask a little question, and like, oh, what did you mean by this, or something like that. Or antagonize her.
Yeah. I mean, he really
it is his show.
Pushes on his insecurities, but thinks that he can use this as a way to improve his potentially improve his flight performance. So he builds a set of a airport and hires actors to fielder method a bunch of pilots and airport staff in general, because he could not get approval from the airliner to film in a actual airport.
Is that episode 2, or is that still episode 1?
This is still episode 1.
Okay.
One of the things that he notices while having Moody go through his day-to-day and tells him to do exactly as he would on a normal day, and has the actors that had fielder methoded, the fielder method referring to something that was touched upon in this first season, where he just would attempt to exactly break down somebody's mannerisms and how they would respond to a certain thing through what could be considered stalking.
Yeah, I'd be like, if you can, follow them to their hotel. I believe that was, it was very close to a quote into the show. Probably not exactly right, but shadow the pilots all day. Get to know their mannerisms. Like, oh, does he talk to anybody? No, he just kind of sits there.
Yeah, he notices that pre-flight conversation is non-existent. Then has a little bit of a moment where he sits down with one of the actors he hired, and he's like, hey, so when we met, when I hired you, I didn't like ask you about yourself or anything, did I? No. So we didn't really have much of a conversation. No. It was like, okay, well maybe this is just a normal part of business that you don't really get into things like that. They bring in Moody's girlfriend, I believe. I honestly, I wasn't sure if that was her or an actor that Fielder methoded. I believe it was her, but I also
I believe it was her.
Yeah, but I thought at one point they made some kind of illusion that maybe it wasn't. I don't know. For the purpose of the episode, I'll say it is her. But he speaks to them separately and breaks down their sides of the longer distance relationship, puts them in a flight simulator to have the conversation, giving Moody the advice that he needs to grab on to the put her in the pilot seat, but tell him that he needs to take control of the simulator when he gets nervous or feels like he's unable to have the to steer the conversation in the way that he wanted. So, giving the physical controls to him, he felt like may have helped him navigate through the difficult conversation. It does appear that the conversation in flight between the two kind of turns into the Whatever podcast. She's just sitting there looking all sad while he's
getting hit on at Starbucks. He's not comfortable with that. It's like, oh yeah, people give me stuff all the time.
After their conversation winds down and they exit the flight simulator, she seems like she's about to cry. He seems like he's filled with a better sense of confidence, but there's an awkward feeling in the air. After seeing Moody switch in personality, he believes that he may actually be able to make a difference. He goes through a little bit of a history of flying machines and discovers that at the beginning, when flying machines were first theorized, it was a laughable concept. So thinks that his laughable persona may actually, and his wild ideas of rehearsing in general, may actually be capable of making a difference in the world of aviation safety. At the beginning of episode 2, we get some Nathan Fielder Canadian Idol lore. Apparently he used to be a pre-judge, where his job was effectively to weed out the people that were not good or not even laughably bad, that people that would not be worthwhile of seeing the main judges on the televised program. So he decides to set up a fake singing competition to have the co-pilots and be put into having uncomfortable conversations and telling people no, and he brings them to the Lizard Lounge set and asks them to reject.
Wait, was it? He kept that set? The Lizard Lounge set?
Yeah, that's where the bar they had set up was the whole.
I didn't even notice that.
Season.
That's hilarious. I just like to think that just sat there the entire time, untouched.
Yeah, he put it in the airport set, I believe.
Oh. That's good.
But he tells the pilots or first officers, maybe he had some from both. I'm not sure if it was. I think it was mainly first officers.
I think it was I think it was just first officers. The whole concept of the show is to get them to speak up more.
It has them.
Well, this season per se.
Perform as judges. He has them perform as judges to reject people that are not good at singing. So, and then he puts a rating box outside so the people could determine how likable their judges was. And notices that all of them had seemed more likable than he did back in his day. So he finds the one with the highest rating and tries to emulate what she does and sits in for a couple of rejections, but discovers that he can't, that even though he's using the same words and trying to mimic the mannerisms of the woman that was rated the most likable, he still just comes off as robotic and awkward. He invites a real pilot to the lounge and tries to have him just join the first officers in the Lizard Lounge after a day of filming, but sees that he's a little awkward and doesn't really tend to make too much conversation with them, so he sits down with him and starts to see that he has a potential lack of judgment while he's talking about himself getting kicked off of dating apps and stuff.
I've been banned off every dating app. I was like, well, buddy, I think you have a problem.
Yeah, I would say so. But he ends up putting him in a flight simulator with the most likable co-pilot. And they seem to have a fairly uncomfortable interaction, but we then get some Summit Ice lore, which was a clothing company that he set up for Nathan For You, that I think it used like Nazi imagery to raise awareness for the Holocaust or something.
I think he just sold a jacket, and like the brand was called Summit Ice, and it had like a mountain logo, and then the proceeds of that went to Holocaust like awareness, I think.
Yeah, but I think for like, I mean, I don't know, because they censored the episode off of Paramount Plus and everything else, but I think during the episode, if I remember correctly, they used like swastikas and Nazi imagery in order to advertise, and like the advertisement and displays just to kind of...
You might be right, yeah. I don't remember that, but it sounds like something he would do.
Certainly, he sees that after seeing that the episode has been censored off of Paramount Plus, he wants to be able to have a meeting with the directors of Paramount Germany, but he's afraid to be too direct and confrontational because he doesn't want to jeopardize being renewed for The Curse Season 2. So he rehearses the conversation with the Paramount Germany officials, sets up the lounge, or sets up the meeting room to look like Schindler's List or something. Has them dressed in Nazi uniforms, the beige
German accent. Did he have an accent? Oh.
Well, I mean, he's dealing with Paramount Germany, and reality, I think, is who he was gonna have the meeting with, so I guess that part would be accurate. But having a servant bring out tea and say, civilization is what separates us from the animals, don't you agree? I don't know how accurate that would be. But after rehearsing a few times with that, he ends up not being satisfied and feeling like the conversation was going very real to life. He asks the actor to be a little bit more genuine with it and use his own thoughts and emotions towards it, and the guy effectively says that he doesn't feel like he's approaching the conversation or in good faith at all. He's like,
yeah.
For the love of God, look at me. You dressed me as a Nazi. I'm in a Nazi uniform in an office. Like, you're not trying to understand where we are coming from, Mr. Fielder. It ends with him going back to the judge's seat and trying to let down a young girl, tell her that she is not going to be moving on to the finals, but just keeps repeating himself and coming off as very awkward, and ultimately gets a 6 out of 10 rating, which, while better than what he was getting, was still lower than he would have liked.
Well, he improved.
Yes. Incremental improvement is improvement. For the third episode, he starts off trying to use clone dogs in rehearsals in order to get them to closer resemble the original dog in personality. And be real, I didn't care about the dog experiment at all.
Yeah. the thing, the highlight of it was where he just like sat on the couch like a cat. It's like, oh, he used to do that. It was like one little thing. It was basically just like a failed experiment per se,
but it did go to lay the groundwork for the latter part of the episode, where he goes through Captain Sully memoirs. Captain Sully was a pilot that had prevented a crash, or had crashed, landed in the water in a way that resulted in no casualties.
In the Hudson.
After
New York. Yeah. Everybody know Captain Sully. He's Tom Hanks.
Fair enough. Not in the aviation world. I didn't know this. I feel like I've heard of the. Do you know when the crash was?
It's when we were in school.
Yeah, I feel like I remember hearing about the crash when it happened. Like, as far as movies about it or anything like that, I did not know any of the deep Captain Sully lore.
I got you.
I do now.
Yeah, Tom Hanks, man. He got the whole shebang.
Sully had hit a flock of birds on takeoff and was able to successfully crash land. Nathan then deploys his advanced retardation in order to recreate the key moments from Sully's memoirs.
Oh, yeah.
Starting off being a baby in a crib and nearly drowning on a giant robot woman's breast milk.
Yeah, that part was a little disturbing.
Was. It's probably... I mean, Nathan Fielder and his work can generally give an uncomfortable feeling. It's supposed to evoke that in a lot of ways, but I think that is the most uncomfortable I've ever been while watching anything Nathan Fielder. Or potentially anything else for that matter.
I mean, I was laughing, but I was like, it was more like, oh my god, what is happening right now?
Yeah, I mean, it was just somewhere between a retard and a genius. I can't tell you. This man is something else entirely. Then has a little moment where Sully had apparently fed his sister tiny pebbles, and has his parents walk out on a pair of stilts, and Dad says, "What the hell's wrong with you, son?" But that child mask that the woman playing his sister was wearing was horrifying.
Yeah. What the hell's wrong with you, son? I will say, I did like how the way the episode ended.
For sure.
Mostly, not mostly, but when they like talk, my bad. I don't want to jump ahead too far.
Alright. Well, Sully seemed to have a changing point in his life when his father had died. Nathan notices that he uses phrases like deal with and cope a lot, but never actually gives any real context as to what that meant to him.
Yeah, well, I feel like that spoke to like pilots as a whole. You can't be mentally impaired per se. And this will be mentioned again in the final episode as well, but just like pilots don't talk about their feelings because if they say the wrong thing, they could get fired.
Yeah, he discovers the dangers of pilots discussing any mental health issues because it could get their medical clearance revoked.
Yeah, and they just find ways to cope, basically.
He does seem to draw a connection between the release of the iPod and Sully's way as something of Sully's way to cope, because the way he starts mentioning it so regularly afterwards.
Yeah.
Apparently, Sully had mentioned to himself to be a fan of Evanescence. So Nathan looks at their most famous song, compares the lyrics to the life that he lived rehearsing Sully. Ultimately, the episode ends with him rehearsing Sully's crash, and sees that from the audio there's 22 seconds, I believe 22 to 24 seconds of silence between when Sully asks his first officer if he has any ideas and when they go back online. He theorizes that because the iPod was found on the floor of the cockpit after the crash, that Sully had broken the aviation rule that would prevent him from wearing the earbuds, put on the chorus of Evanescence's Wake Me Up, and then successfully crash lands into the Boston Harbor, having his first officer, Hudson, yes, body of water.
Body of water.
There's certainly no way to confirm his theory, and there is probably, I'd say it's more likely than not that it's not true, but
yeah, I feel like that part was more entertaining.
Totally. Either way, the scene he sets is actually chilling, and I loved that.
It was very good.
I've never been the biggest fan of Evanescence nor that song, but
what?
That is the most I've enjoyed it, is in that.
Wake me up inside.
I liked the Haunted song of theirs, but even that I think I only really liked because of the Teen Titans AMV that existed a long time ago. On to episode 4. Nathan has actors talk to the pilots as non-therapy therapy. Just trying to kind of pick their brains and see what's going on. Even lets out a disclaimer that this is, to any airlines watching, that this is not therapy. It's just two people having a conversation. So he isolates one of the pilots that seemed like he was the least outgoing and willing to engage in conversation. And after seeing a glimpse into his social life, he has a group of actors mirror his speech so he can have them do a pack rehearsal, as he puts it. Because in nature, animals will travel in packs. So he feels like that if he gives a man a pack of people behind him to repeat his every word in motion, that would also increase his confidence in conversations and such. After having the pack rehearse, or the pack mirror him, he asks all of the actors that were pack rehearsing to if any of them had found him attractive, and encourages the ones that do to shoot their shot. We have a young blonde woman named Emma that takes him up on that. So he has actors fielder method both of them and runs simulation relationships to see the potential flaws that may transpire. That was weird.
That was
There's
weird.
like six copies of the guy's house or apartment, and just had them all leading separate lives. It is made known that Colin wants to kiss Emma, but he does not. After seeing a bunch...
He had ample opportunity multiple times.
Yeah. After watching the actors doing their simulation relationships, he starts to question how some of these people who are currently in real relationships outside of the simulation could act out in real time, have a character relationship, and not have that affect any of their personal ones. He recalls that while recording for The Curse, that he was pretending he was only acting but didn't feel any of the emotions towards Emma Stone. But his acting in that was stiff and robotic like the rest of his performances.
He's a married man.
Ultimately, in order to get Colin and Emma to actually have their first kiss, he has Colin act out a scene as Captain Powers, whose powers is that he has no problem kissing any girl that he goes on a date with, and has Emma play a character called Jennifer Kiss Me.
He's weird for that.
It certainly takes a strange mind to come up with such a theory, but in some way, shape, or form, it does work.
A little peg.
It is certainly the most awkward and strangest kiss that has ever been recorded, probably.
I wouldn't say that. It was, at the end of the day, it was just a peck,
No,
Sure.
no, it was very awkward and inhuman.
Inhuman.
I hate to be so blunt with it, but yes.
Yeah, you should be ashamed. Calm.
At the end of the episode, he shows that he's got a congressional set belt and prepares to rehearse in front of Congress. Which leads us into the 5th episode, where he actively rehearses in front of Congress. Fake Congress.
The joke that he cracks in fake con. That whole little bit. It's like, I want y'all, like, if you find it funny, laugh. The whole room just fucking erupts after the... What was it? What was the joke?
That I haven't been in front of a courtroom since I got kicked off for that bus for masturbating. But in my defense, the bus driver did tell me to get off.
First time he told it, dead silent. Second time he told it, thunderous laughter.
He theorized that if the pilot and first officers are directed to play characters mid-flight, it could relieve the tension from the cockpit. Tries to pitch this to the fake Congress. I get one of my favorite lines from the show, which I had to write down. One of the congressmen says, "Mr. Fielder, where does your sense of altruism come from? Where you want to save lives? You're known for pranking people. For causing pranks!" Causing pranks. Love the diction there.
Causing pranks.
This causes him to reflect on how every time he's had a chance to be in the public eye, he's turned it into a joke. Showing instances of him on Jimmy Kimmel and other talk shows and such. He discovers that while trying to figure out how he could be taken seriously and researching himself, he discovers that the rehearsal struck a chord with people that are autistic, And he thinks that he can use this to gain leverage, hoping to go before Congress, just using his autism specialties.
Basically, he's gonna do a favor for like autistic foundation, and to get some brownie points, because one of the what's the committee? The flight committee. But they're all congressmen, right?
Yeah. One of the people.
One of the flight committee people is a big autism advocate, and that was gonna be his way in, because I think he messaged somebody else, but they declined to meet with him.
Yeah. So he sets up a meeting with a autism center and talks to the person that's leading it. She's giving an explanation as to how the rehearsal had really hit home for people in the autistic community, because in the brain of an autistic person, they tend to run through so many different thoughts of how things could go, what could go wrong, etc., etc. When she insinuates that he himself is autistic, he sells it with his eyes so perfectly.
That was a really funny scene.
She's just saying like, oh yeah, this is how the brain of an autistic person works, and the rehearsal is so great because it gives context to people whose brains don't work that way on how an autistic person's brain works. You're like, yeah, or it's just like, like that totally normal thing that everybody has in them that makes them want to rehearse for something, if they had the ability to.
If they had the ability to.
She then has him take a test that helps him determine whether someone's autistic or not, where the goal is to just look at somebody's eyes in a picture and tell how they're feeling. I will say that I think that eye test is bullshit.
Yeah.
That first kid did not have that guy. I do not see those as playful eyes. I did get the second one correct, but I was kind of between two of them.
Yeah, it always came down to two. Like any good multiple choice does.
When he goes to try to get the lady to endorse him officially and have some kind of relationship on a professional level, he gives a breakdown of what the Rehearsal Season 2 is going to be about. So, when she sees this, she gets very excited at seeing the airport set that he had built. Decides that she's going to give him the endorsement if he allows them to use the set in order to let autistic children practice for going to an airport.
Which apparently is not their favorite setting.
Say not? I mean, shit, I've never been on an airplane.
There's a lot going on at the airport.
A lot less worried about the plane portion of it, as I would just be not looking forward to dealing with the airport side of things if I ever do have to go, when I do have to go on one. I'm sure there'll be a time.
It's not too bad. It's a lot of walking.
I'm sure
everybody
kind of
leaves you.
Wouldn't be, but it's a hassle.
Yeah, it's a lot like going to the mall with a security check.
Yeah, well, I haven't been to a mall since high school, and I didn't like it much then.
No, I like going to the mall to go to the candy shop because I'm a child. I got some Abba Zaba the other day because we went to the Red Robin at the mall, and I was like, well, I gotta stop at the candy shop.
I mean, that's one of the places I would go on the few instances I venture out to the mall. Anyway, maybe FYE or something. I don't even think that's still a thing, though.
Oh, it's still there. It was there when I went.
Fair
They
enough.
sell like CDs still.
I don't
vinyls,
need
and
CDs.
they sell like a lot of anime stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't care. Don't plan on going to any malls anytime soon.
Oh, we're going to the mall, buddy.
Speaks with a congressional representative, unrehearsed, because he wants to prove that he can or something. If the rehearsals are helpful to him, I don't know why he wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to prove that he was autistic, I guess.
I suppose.
But you'll get back to that.
Just haphazardly stumbles through the meeting, struggling to make connections. He does finally name drop his thoughts for the characters he would like to have the pilot and co-pilot play: First Officer Blunt and Captain All Ears.
Captain
Ultimately, the congressional representative that he speaks to tells him to have a nice day and thanks him for coming by, but shows no interest in following up with him.
Yeah, he was trying to be nice. But
Yeah, well, Nathan did not leave when he was told to leave. He just kind of sat there. I did see somewhere that the person that he spoke to said that he was not a fan of the way that their meeting was edited. Said that he cut out a lot of.
I'm sure he did. It's supposed to be like entertaining, I guess, but
Yeah, for sure.
Eric Andre does that too. He'll interview somebody for an hour and cut it down to 2 minutes.
Moving on to the 6th and final episode of the season. He's hiring. The episode opens as he's hiring passengers, or actors, to play as passengers on a real plane that he will be piloting himself. Cuts to 2 years prior to the filming of the season, where he begins the process of obtaining his piloting license, and he says that he struggles more than most students would.
Yeah, all of his instructors were like, "We've never had somebody as bad as you."
Yeah. There was one point in particular where he was taking off or something, and he said lowering power. The guy you could hear the frustration in his voice. He's like, "What? No, why?" My controls.
Yep, my controls.
Excellent
name for the episode.
Goes through a little compilation of all the times that he had the controls taken from him. It shows that while filming one of his lessons, that another student had actually crashed and died alongside the instructor. So he takes a few weeks off to just kind of recalibrate and think about what he's doing.
He would shadow fly in his mind.
Yeah, they told him to just sit in a chair and imagine he's flying. The reason he wants to fly the Boeing 747, I think. The Boeing airline.
It is a 737.
Well, I said 47, so I was wrong.
No, apologies.
But he wants to do this so he can actually get cameras in the cockpit, because no major airliner would allow for it. He likens the dynamic.
The loophole, man. It's like, yeah, no one will ever let you fly an airplane full of passengers. Like, what if I paid people to be there? I'm surprised everyone said yes. Because I feel like most of them were like already actors from like previous like skits or appearances of like this season.
Yeah, like, at the very least, the girl Emma that was going with Moody, I know she was one of the passengers, and so was the older black lady that was talking about having a wet dream about Einstein.
Yeah, shout out to her. We kind of glanced over her.
Yeah, I forgot to mention her.
Oh, that part was funny. She's hilarious.
Yeah. He likens the cockpit dynamics to being a passenger in an Uber with an unsafe driver, where you'd maybe want to speak up and tell them that they should probably be off their phone or whatever, and instead just stay silent, hoping that nothing goes wrong. He chooses Aaron as his first officer because he has aspirations for TV and thinks that this might contribute to
power dynamic.
Dynamic to where he didn't want to ruin his potential chance while filling out the questionnaire form for a pre-flight thing or something. He ponders over any mental disorders that he may have because of the autism incident.
Yeah, was this before? No, this was after the MRI. He got his brain scanned to find out, like, cause he had, like, he was talking to, like, doctors and like, oh yeah, this is like what a person's brain's like if they have autism, or like CTE, this is what it looks like, or it was all these disorders, and it was like, you can kind of, we can kind of like tell, and we can like deep dive, and like we can give you this data. And he's like, well, I'm supposed to fly in like 2 days. Like, you're not getting this information in 2 days or something like that. So yeah, he's like, he's filling out this form, like, are you fit to fly? I thought this part was hilarious. He did what we all do. He went to Reddit. He was like, why would you disclose this information? It's like,
yeah, don't get tested.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, at the moment, I'm fit to fly. So
yeah,
he proceeded.
Does all these things, prepares to get on his flight, takes off, flies, lands safely. The guy, Aaron, said that he did a good job. There was one point in time where Nathan had kind of pressed him, thinking that maybe he was saying something or thinking something that he didn't say. But
he eventually got to tell him his thoughts after the fact. He's like, oh, I kind of had to do some things for you, when we were taking off, or like, he like undid the flaps or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he said that he did something minor during the takeoff, but overall, that was the only thing that he complained or said he did wrong. I don't really know if Nathan proved what he was trying to prove with this season.
Yeah, the ending was kind of, I don't know, I kind of like how it ended, how he like flew a plane by himself. That was cool. I wasn't expecting that when I first watched the season. I was like, no, well, he's not gonna fly a 737 full of people. And I don't know. At the end of the day, episode 1, he came in with the clear point of he wanted pilots and co-pilots to talk to each other, but maybe time will tell if he actually makes a difference in aviation safety. It's not going to happen immediately of like direct effect, but but people could look at it and like get those ideas flowing, and then eventually that could lead to change. I don't know.
He certainly has been making the rounds and appearing wherever he can.
I have not seen the CNN interview. I think that's like a 12-minute interview, like after the finale, if I'm correct.
Yep. He went on CNN. I believe he went on Kimmel few other of those liberal late night shows that I don't watch. During the CNN interview, he did say something funny to the effect of, like, a lot of people will go to Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan or some podcasters for their news, but for me, CNN is still the standard. But I really could not imagine him on Joe Rogan or something like that. Like, he
could be on Joe Rogan.
Oh, it would be awesome, but I don't know, man. It's like, I would love and also never want to have a conversation with Nathan Fielder. Because, like, I feel like I would just, like, talk mad shit without meaning to.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd just be like calling him, like, robotic and inhuman or something, but...
Yeah.
I can imagine how the conversation goes.
It's one thing when he sets it up on his own TV show to, like, dig at himself, but call it out, like, right to his face.
It's just, I couldn't imagine having a real conversation with him and having him on more of a long-form conversation or a long-form podcast as opposed to, like,
Joe Rogan, like 3 hours, like...
CNN clip or Jimmy Kimmel or whatever. I mean, would he be able to keep up the character real time, or is that actually who he is? I mean, I'm sure that's at least
it's a little of both.
Some part of it. For sure.
You gotta be playful with it, you know?
Ultimately, I don't think this... I don't think this is his best project. I think the first season was probably better. I definitely
I
think
disagree.
The Curse is still my favorite.
I haven't seen The Curse, so I can't speak on that, but I think Season 2 is definitely better than Season 1. In terms of rehearsal.
I mean, I don't know. Well...
I mean, in my opinion, they're both still Kino, but...
Because they weren't doing the COVID thing, and he had more control and freedom. I really do believe that the first season was just messed up by the whole pandemic, but...
Yeah.
As far as the character arc that he went through in the Rehearsal Season 1, I think that was a lot more powerful and just played off a lot better than the autism thing, because it's like, there's no way that he has not pondered whether he's autistic or not before. I mean, any and everybody, like that's one of the number one things people talk about when they talk about Nathan Fielder is the autistic side of him.
Yeah, they had him on that
colloquial sense.
That show, I think it's Wired, where there's like, they have celebrities on, and then they like, what's his most searched thing about him on Google? It's like, we'll say Bryan Cranston. Is Bryan Cranston blah blah blah, you know?
Mm-hmm. I didn't know he was on that.
Well, if he was, yeah, that has to be on there.
For sure,
I don't think he has been. That lead, he has this mysterious allure to him, you know? He's not on everything.
Yeah. I think that more exposure to Nathan Fielder may work to his detriment. I am glad with the project that he drops every few years, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was another great notch in the belt. Certainly not my favorite of his, but I am very glad to have been able to see it live on a mostly week-to-week basis. I guess I only watched the last 2 episodes on a week-to-week basis, but every other project I'd seen, I mean, so like with Nathan For You, I didn't watch every week, but I watched it as I could. With the Rehearsal, I didn't even know it existed until years after. And The Curse had already come out completely by the time I had gotten around to that. So this was the first one I was able to come across in real time, for the most part. For some part, at least. And I'm glad to have been able to.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely talented. He's good at what he does.
Very funny guy. Always look forward to anything that's got him as a star of the project.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you got to say about this? Seems like we're about to wind down.
No, and if I'm gonna plug it into my 10 out of 10 or whatever, or out of 10, I'd probably give it a 9.
Say probably 8.5 to 9. Certainly not. If it was his best, I'd probably have to give it a 10 out of 10. But I'm just thinking of this as a very Nathan Fielder centric idea. I mean, I wouldn't rate this along the same way that I would rate a movie. There were some points in the season where I felt like things kind of dragged, and things that I don't think really paid off at the end, but...
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and which isn't the best look for a 6-episode season, but...
But, I mean, I'm also looking at it through retrospect. I mean, when you're experiencing it head-on, you don't really know what you got coming next, so anything could stay relevant.
That's true.
Hopefully, we get a Rehearsal Season 3. He seems to want the Curse Season 2. I don't know how that could happen with the final episode, because the way it ends, I'm not gonna spoil that for you, but I just couldn't imagine that getting a Season 2. It doesn't really leave room for it.
Okay. Well, maybe that'll be a conversation for another time.
For sure. If it does come out, I'd love to talk about that. But seems like that's all we got to say, so bye everybody, see you next time. Thank you for joining us on this very special, maybe not very special, but this special episode of the Kino Cinema Club podcast, minus 2 members, and no cinema. But it is Kino.
It is Kino.
Bye everybody.
Later.